Efed podcast, the podcast exploring our fantasy wrestling hobby, where the wrestling is written, but the characters are real. I'm your host, Mikey Unlikely, and I'd like to thank you for joining us here on the Atomic Dropcast Network. All right, guys, welcome back to another edition of Efed podcast, episode 46. We've got a big show for you today. We've got Sean on the show. He is the handler of Chris Spade of the UWF. He's a good guy and the last person I've actually gotten to meet in this crazy game of Efedding. So we're going to talk about that and much, much more. We've got a brand new Efed podcast question of the week. And we've actually got a new Efed Spotlight. We're bringing it back. And remember, if you want to have your Fed highlighted here on the show on the Efed Spotlight, please get at us at the Efed Podcast on Twitter. Again, that's at the Efed Podcast. You can find us there. That's the number one way to communicate with the show. You can slide into those DMs if you'd like to get on the interview list. You can even pop into the Discord from the profile link. And that's our own little Efed wrestling community in the Discord. It's a fun place with like 100 handlers. It's a great time. If you want to pop in there and communicate with people from all over the game, it's a great place to be. And don't forget about the Patreon over at patreon.com/Efed podcast. We'd love to have you over there if you'd love to support the show. It is a free podcast, but we'd be happy to have you over there and be a part of the patron team. It's a great time, and we're doing extras like the question of the month, where me and Brian jump on there. We do a live Q&A with people. We're also doing some bad graps every once in a while. We did it once. We're looking to do it again here shortly. So hop on over to patreon.com/Efed podcast, and you become part of the crew. And not only that, but you can get the show 2 days early on Sundays as opposed to Tuesdays. So a lot of cool benefits over there. All right, guys, we're going to jump right into the show, but please, please, please support our sponsors. We're going to do a little ad run here, and I hope that you take the time, check out each of the sponsors, see what they're about, and see if you can't be a part of either their feds, their groups. I know the Occupy Pro Wrestling community is a lot of fun. Check out the EWC community as well over at EWC4life.com. Check out these sponsors, support them. They are the lifeblood behind the show. We would greatly appreciate it.
Occupy Pro Wrestling, putting the smart back into smart mark since 2012 as we grapple with design and media services for wrestlers, promotions, and podcasters. We strive to enjoy pro wrestling in our community and podcast, centered around interviews with wrestlers and fans alike. If you like what you see and hear, check out the central hub for everything we're doing and the latest from our site partners over at OccupyProWrestling.com.
All right, guys, the Efed podcast is very happy to announce its brand new partnership over on Facebook with the Social Media Wrestling Association. The Social Media Wrestling Association, along with its 16,000 member strong influence page known as Generational Wrestling Society, has proven to be the true revolutionary Efed company of Facebook. The SWA welcomes written, video, and audio promos for its talent, as well as results provided in live 2K audio commentary and written results. The SWA is more than just an Efed. With GWS, all areas of the wrestling community are covered. From belt collectors, wrestling news, trivia, and podcasts, and Efeds. Check them out on Facebook at Social Media Wrestling Association and Generational Wrestling Society. You can give a search for both. Once you join both, you'll be glad to become associated with the society. And we're going to be posting our show on Facebook exclusively on the SWA and GWS sites. And we're very happy to have announced this partnership with the SWA, and you can hear about it here every week. So guys, go check them out. Social Media Wrestling Association on Facebook.
Defiance, an angle fed boasting 8 years of continuous fantasy wrestling. Defiance offers opportunities for original characters, micros, a standalone website utilizing Backstage 3 script, and a forum hosted on the long-running FWrestling.com, as well as a roster full of some of the most experienced writers in the game. Come see for yourself at DefianceWrestling.com. That's DefianceWrestling.com.
Hey guys, are you digging this podcast? Well, we really appreciate it. I'd also appreciate it if you check out my other podcast. The Atomic Dropcast is a look back at the wrestling of yesteryear through adult eyes. We watch the wrestling that we watched as kids, as adults, with a couple of beers in our hands. It's a great time. Check it out over at AtomicDropcast.com. You can also find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
OCW Fed is a hybrid pro wrestling Efed that combines elements of roleplay and competitive play using the WWE 2K franchise. Whether you're on PlayStation or Xbox, OCW Fed is a creative outlet for gamers and pro wrestling fans alike. With over 16 years experience producing weekly content and live Twitch events, OCW Fed has a thriving community with handlers from all over the world. If this sounds like your cup of tea, come check us out at OCWFed.com, OCW Fed TV on YouTube, and OCW Fed on Twitch. It's like D&D for wrestling nerds.
Hey everybody, it's Mikey. No, we're not back to the show just yet. First, I want to tell you about my Patreon. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh no, am I going to have to pay for the podcast? No. The answer is emphatically no. The show has been and forever will be free. No, Brunk, you will not have to pay for the podcast. However, we have been asked by a handful of people how they can help support the show. And we've also been asked, mostly by Fuzz, why we didn't have a Patreon yet. And I quote, "You stupid I can't believe you don't have a Patreon. I will hurt you if you don't take my money now." End quote. That was Fuzz. He's a scary dude. So with that in mind, you can find us at patreon.com/Efed podcast. Contributions start as low as $3 a month. Thank you very much for your consideration. Please get Fuzz off our backs. The Efed question of the week is brought to you by the EWC. The Extreme Wrestling Corporation is the game's longest-running roleplay Efed, having been established in 1997. With over 100 active roleplayers across 4 unique brands, the EWC offers opt-in booking on all of its bi-weekly shows. It's home to Stranglemania and the 4-day wrestling festival known as WrestleFest. The EWC is built on its welcoming community with zero bias and no drama. All styles are welcome. Come check out the EWC today at EWC4life.com. That's EWC, the number 4, life.com. And this week's question of the week: which Fed would you have liked to work for, but haven't because you feel you couldn't compete on their level? I think we've all been in this situation where we've all wanted to join a cool-looking Fed, one we found that was awesome, but then we took a look at some of the competition and maybe it was a little steep for us. This is going to be an interesting one. I'm looking forward to all the answers. Over on the Twitter machine, here's what we got. At Roland Ehrman, Defiance. Oh, wait. Buddy, you've been there forever. At Hollywood HUD, I can't write 5,000 words consistently or I would have been in Stranglemania a long time ago. You can't go wrong there. That is a great Fed. EWC, good friends of the Efed podcast. Appreciate their support. At Super Athlete, all of them. Homeboy's been intimidated by everybody. I like it too. At Die Hard D Scott, I used to go and visit the TFWF boards at least once a month. No matter what Efed I was currently in, I never had the courage to join because people like Vlad and Vagabond and just about everyone on the roster there intimidated the fuck out of me. We've all been there and we've all been intimidated by a certain roster. And over on the Discord side of things, here's what we got. The Matloaf, probably any RP Fed that's going these days. I've been doing angled Feds for so long now that I don't think I'll be able to write RPs like I used to back in the earlier times of my Efedding career. At Rick. Clearly the WWE. We'd all like to be there, obviously, or else we wouldn't be playing this game. I'm going to hear from the AEW guys on that one. At Ravage, from the talk around here in a few months that I have been in this Discord, probably Defiance or How. It seems like they're the top level, and then again, I'm my own worst critic. I think we all are that as well. We all enjoy writing, and then we all look at our own writing like it's the worst. At Evil Patriots fan, honestly, Defiance. It's been on my list to compete at for a while, but I feel like I wouldn't fit in with some of my characters there. Interesting. We'd love to have everybody over at DefianceWrestling.com. At MDG Warren, I'd love to try a cough ed, but I'd need to overcome a steep learning curve. Interesting. Mending the two fences between the old written game and a guy who's done everything else with the game, including make a board game. Modern day gladiators, check it out. At Catpacity, I think that Fire Pro Fed would actually be kinda sick to be a part of. But I don't now, nor will I anytime soon, have a gaming system, and I wouldn't even have the slightest idea of how to approach it, even if I did. At John Page, how? The top Fed around right now, in my opinion. Great answers, guys. I love the Defiance answers, obviously, and the High Octane Wrestling answers. Both places I've been recently or am part of. All right, thank you for participating in this week's Efed Podcast Question of the Week. Make sure you stay tuned to the top of the Twitter profile. The question of the week is always pinned up there, and all you have to do is drop a comment in the comments with your answer, and it'll be read here on the show.
Konnichiwa, bitches. This is Greg Ward, El Pedro, El Patron, the motherfucking boss. You're listening to the Efed Podcast with my boy Mikey. If you don't know, now you know, motherfuckers. Get on this shit. Listen to this shit. What the fuck you doing? Subscribe, bitch. Subscribe.
Alright guys, welcome back to the Efed Spotlight, where we highlight one Fed that's out there, take a look at their roster, their championships, and a little bit more, and we give you an opportunity to check them out for yourself. This week, the Efed Spotlight is on World Women's Wrestling. Triple W is a women's-only Twitter-based Fed, where Twitter activity and segment submissions increase your chances of getting a push. It is an angle Fed, and the shows are bi-weekly, called Glory. The pay-per-views are after every 5 episodes of Glory, making it a nice, balanced schedule. As far as rules and word limits, there are no word limits, but be kind and respectful to others, take any issues up with the owner privately, and use common sense. Guys, we all know the rules to Efeds. They are going to have 3 championships, a world championship, a United States, and a television championship. Right now, the top 10 wrestlers they have in no specific order: Trixie Decker, Mercedes White, Stacy Jones, Lord Hader, Sela Rika Lark, Emily Sims, Killer Carter, Aya, Brooke Cartwright, and Abigail Lindsay. You can find them on Twitter at TripleWFed. That's TripleWFed. Right now they have about 21 roster members, and you can sign up as 1 or 2 characters, and this is not limited to original characters only. So you have the opportunity to write however you would like. Check them out, guys. A women's-only Twitter angle Fed. World Women's Wrestling at TripleWFed on Twitter. All right, guys, welcome back to another edition of the Efed Podcast interview series. This week on the show, we have the UWF's Chris Spade, longtime handler, longtime listener, and good friend of the show, one of the most recent handlers I've gotten to actually meet in real life. Sean, how are you doing?
I am doing good, all things considering with this crazy pandemic.
Yes, it is a crazy pandemic. I appreciate you taking the time to jump on the podcast. Apologize. We had a ton of technical issues to get started, but hey, we're back. The show is back. Glad to get everything going again.
That's right.
Good deal. Well, Sean, let's talk about how you first got into pro wrestling. How did you become a fan?
What year was that? It was somewhere in the mid-90s.
Okay.
I started the very first pay-per-view I remember watching from because my brother was a huge fan. So the first pay-per-view that I remember watching was a video rental version of it. So it was WrestleMania 6.
Oh, was that Hogan and Warrior? Yeah.
Yes. So I guess a lot of you could relate that to Edge a little bit. When you think about real life wrestlers, Edge. From now on, it grew from that. And I just watching with my brother, and then it's every television show, every pay-per-view you can find at a video store, and all that. So
that's awesome. And that's how I got started too, was going to the video store and picking up the VHSs, and I couldn't get enough of each and every one of them. And they were all, of course, this was like 1996 or 7, and these were all from 1992, 1991.
Oh yeah, it drove my mom crazy. She's like, "Can you not pick something wrestling for once?" Like, no.
Well, awesome. Well, who were your favorite wrestlers when you first started watching? Like, who attracted you the most? Were you a little Hulkamaniac, or were you for the Warrior, or what?
Actually, that match itself really didn't draw me.
No?
No,
What was it?
it was actually Piper and Bad News Brown. Of all
Nice.
things. Just because how the match ended was they just were beating the hell out of each other on the ring floor. And it's like, oh my god, you gotta just want to fight. It's great.
You're like, I don't know about that other stuff, but that one was real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I kind of, 10-year-old me, who was thinking of that. Oh my god, these guys really hate each other. They were trying to kill each other out there. Great.
Those are the ones that are most fun because you get so wrapped up in it. You're like, oh, I can't wait to see what happens.
Yeah, and that's probably where it started for me being Piper became a all-time favorite wrestler of all time.
Nice.
That's probably where the seeds kind of planted on that. Even though Piper's pitch and all that had already passed by, and I didn't see all that, so I had to go back and rewatch that when I had the chance.
Yeah, there was so much good stuff, and the bulk of it's in the 80s and the very early 90s. So, well, besides Roddy Piper, who else did you get to like as you grew into your fandom?
Oh, it's a crazy bunch of characters. Let's see. From the early 90s, well, it was that. Then it became Big Daddy Cool Diesel.
Okay.
Then it became Shawn Michaels.
Easy.
Starting
Yeah.
like the 96. Then, of course, Sting was always up there. Trying to think. Then it was Austin Rock kind of counterparted one another.
It was so much fun.
Yeah, it was kind of tied. Of course, The Undertaker was always there. He's probably number 2 on my list.
Well, let's do that. Let's do who's your Mount Rushmore of wrestling.
My personal one would be Piper 1, Taker 2, Sting 3.
Okay.
Shawn Michaels probably the 4th.
Nice. Yeah, you can't argue with that. It's a pretty loaded lineup.
Just because I watched the entire Undertaker career.
Sure, yeah. Survivor Series to retirement.
Yeah.
And documentaries now. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's an awesome documentary.
Yeah, yeah.
It was.
So, when and how did you find the wacky world of e-wrestling?
So, I don't know how some of the younger guys probably don't know what this is, but back in 2001, Yahoo had anybody that had a Yahoo account can go in a chat room.
Yes.
And there was topic for any kind of topic you could think of. There was a room for that.
Yep.
So of course there was pro wrestling, which WWE was still huge. WCW was kind of fade away, but I went in there just to start talking wrestling. And of course, one of the earlier days of Efed recruitment was poster link in the chat room.
Yes. This is the exact same way I got into it. It's crazy. I love that you're saying this.
So I saw it a bunch of times and I kind of ignored it. I didn't care. Then finally somebody actually DM'd me in the chat room or private message, as whatever you want to call it.
Did they ask for your age, sex, and location?
Probably. I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
That was always the typical first question to anybody.
Everybody. Yep. ASL?
Yeah. Always the guy had the ASL in there. But he goes, would you want to join EFED? I'm like, what the hell is an EFED? I had no idea what it was. Then he goes, oh, it's a wrestling thing where you write out a promo and whoever has the best promo wins the match. I'm like, okay, I guess I could try that. So I joined this company, trying to think of the name, UWA UK.
Okay.
Obviously, the owner was from the United Kingdom. Hence the name of the company. So it was all real wrestlers in there. So like,
nice.
Okay, who was not available? Who I started going, okay, all the really good ones are taken. He couldn't be The Rock, or he couldn't be Austin. I ended up being with freaking Rikishi,
Nice.
the thong guy.
The thong guy, stink face.
Yeah. All right. Oh yeah, this is really good. Then I started reading these role plays that these guys are doing. I'm like, wait a minute. The guy's supposed to be Ming of all people, but he's Canadian.
They're putting their own twist on the characters.
Yeah, I'm like, wait a minute, this don't sound right. And I started writing my role plays the same way as they were because I had no idea what the hell I was doing. And then there was, I can't think of the company name, but the guy, to this day, I still kind of see his name pop around on my Facebook role places because we were Facebook for a while, but kind of lost touch. He was quite the character.
Who's that?
He was his character name was I don't know how you pronounce it. It was a weird name.
Okay.
Like Mensko or Menico.
Huh. Yeah, I'm not familiar.
Yeah, it was 2001, so we're still putting a lot of dating back on this.
Yes, and even back then there was so many different kinds of eFeds and so many different kinds of websites between like Angel Fire and GeoCities and Yahoo groups and MSN groups and everything else.
Oh yeah. He was I think he was on GeoCities, I think, but he was probably one of the better web designers I've seen back in that time. It probably won't age too well now, but he was the first one that actually taught me how to change your font color in your role play. He taught me how to do that. He taught me how to hyperlink a video to your role play. Like back then, you can actually, grab
you can embed something, yeah.
Embed something off a website and say, "Hey, here's the video.
Here's my entrance music."
Yeah, or here's the Titantron of so and so.
It was pretty. Yeah.
I used to have it on there.
Back when everybody had to know HTML code just to role play.
Yeah, he was the one that actually taught me how to do HTML, which later in high school it helped me out because I had a class that was all about web designing and I was ahead of the game.
Aced it, yeah. It's crazy, but like back then you almost had to know how to code just to role play, and today that wouldn't fly.
Yeah. But he taught me all that stuff, and whoever I know the handler is on my Facebook somewhere. I point him out if I saw the picture, but his name on the top of my head wouldn't know. But I was with his company and the first one I joined simultaneously because in high school I had more time than I had what to do with.
Sure, absolutely.
So I did both of them until about 2005, I would guess.
Okay.
Then I kind of jumped around trying to find a new home because the funny part is like a year or so after I started doing it, the guy who ran the first company gave it to me and some other guy.
It seems that's how it always goes. I just started playing this game. Okay, here's a Fed.
I'm like, what the fuck you want me to do with this? I had no idea. So trying to write matches, and I hated doing it. I found out the hard way that I despised writing out a match.
It's tough. It's definitely its own art.
Probably kind of I hate doing it. It's probably just got burnt out so fast of doing it because I had to do everybody else's job. Cause they're like, I don't feel so well. I gotta do this. Like we had like 2 shows a week.
Oh man, yeah, that's a hectic schedule.
And the whole point of it was like I ran one show separately, and he supposed to run his show separately, like Raw versus SmackDown. But like, okay, why am I doing both brands work? And like, it was just too much, and it burned me out really fast on writing match results.
No doubt. So what happened when you got burnt out?
I took a break. I said I don't want to do this no more. I just want to be a role player. I just want to write role plays.
Yeah.
Because like, I still had fun doing trash talking. Was like, oh, that's still fun. But I didn't care about like writing all the details of how the match went out. And some people hated how I did it. So like, well, you know what? I don't need to do it either. So the company closed because my co-owners they all bailed anyway. So like, I don't want to do it.
Yeah, at that point you'd been burnt out. You tried to step into a role that you at the time weren't ready for or didn't really want. It was just kind of bestowed upon you.
Exactly.
Yeah. So when they went belly up, is that when you took a break, and then when did you come back?
That ended about 2005, I believe. So I took a small break. It wasn't really long, but I just kind of jumped around for.
Oh, you just started role playing again, not being
just,
any staff or Fed head position.
Right, and I just jumped around trying to find a new Fed to role play at.
Okay.
Which that nothing really stood out until 2007, where I found the UWF.
Really, and you've been with them mostly ever since.
Yeah, it was 10 years, 2017, so
13 years now.
Yeah.
Insane. It's a hell of a stay.
Yeah, and yeah. So this just kind of gives us how much my relationship was with the owner of that Fed. It's been the same guy from start to finish, and Ricky Stanton was in and out of that company the whole time too, and he was there before I was.
Yeah, Ricky Stanton, former guest on the show.
Yes, a guy that I worked with for almost the whole time that I was with UWF. He's been in and out. We had I call it the Ricky Steamboat Ric Flair series because it never ends. So because every time we're both in the company at the same time, when he's active and I'm both active, we get thrown in a match. It just happens. No matter what we're doing, all of a sudden, here, you're going to face each other now. I'm like,
oh, are we?
Well, what reason? It's kind of, what's the reason? Just because you're two legends. Okay. That's how we came.
I mean, that's one way to build a feud. I mean, when you've run through a company for 10 years, 13 years.
Yeah.
You run out of opponents pretty quick.
Oh yeah, that's one of the reasons why now I haven't been that active in that company is because I was finding myself facing the same people over and over.
Yeah.
So like, okay, I'm running out of things to say that makes it refreshing and interesting.
Well, let's before we jump into the UWF in deep, talk to me about your first characters. I mean, obviously you were Rikishi, but talk to me about your first original character. Was it Chris Spade?
Actually, it was.
Wow, so you're still rocking your first character.
Yeah, and it's the cool thing about it. I think about it, I was able to tell a full story with the character.
From like coming out of wrestling school all the way to what? Not retired, but maybe near retired in that federation anyway.
Exactly what happened, because when I started him, he was basically a punk kid coming right out of wrestling school. He was like 18 years old. So, and he thought he was the cock of the walk. You know, he had the ego side of Texas. Thought he was the greatest thing in the world. And now, where he's at now in his career, he's a respected veteran. Like The Undertaker is now, and guys like him, you know, it reached to that point where he gained the respect, he earned the respect, he paid his dues, he took his ass kickings and kept coming back. And eventually he started winning his own matches, became a Hall of Famer, and did all the rewards and all that fun stuff, and it just evolved.
And it's pretty cool that you did a legacy character that it's gone that long and that consistently. Do you have any secondary characters that you've used elsewhere?
I toyed with different characters over the years too. Some goofy as hell and some not. This didn't pan out because I was like, okay, I'm not really good playing a dark character. I tried to.
Sure.
I really wanted to try to do a dark character because Chris Bates is so opposite of dark. He's kind of goofy. He's at this point he makes funny jokes, try to be funny at times. I was like, I want to do something on the other side of the spectrum. You know, try to be dark, mysterious, and all that. It's just like, just not feeling it. Then the funniest part was, I want to say 2009, 9-ish. I put Chris Spade on a partial retirement just because I wanted to step away from Chris Spade for a while. I was kind of getting bored with it a little bit. but then when retired, we were like, I want to take a break. Like he went out, so we did an injury angle with him. Like he was out, hurt, had knee surgery. So we wrote him off, on the UWF. We actually wrote him off as he's injured. He's had surgery. He's gonna be gone for a while. I did that to give myself a chance to take a new character, and I went way out of the box on it. At least I thought it was. I played the evil Santa Claus.
That's certainly outside the box.
And it was actually fun for a while. Because I had like all these like silly gimmicks. Like he did like hardcore mentions, but everything in the hardcore mentions was like a Christmas decoration item. Like he like, oh, here's the guy with you beat guy with like a big giant candy cane and body slam on glass ornaments and shit like that. He had a fake Santa sleigh. He had his own reindeer and elves and all that crazy shit. Had funny names for everything. It's like,
are you familiar with the EW Santa, the other guy who's been running the e-wrestling Santa for some time?
I've seen the name pop up before, but I haven't really read any of the work.
Yeah, it's similar, but obviously not the same. And I'd be interested to check out your stuff as well, because I love stuff like that. I love a takeoff of a classic character when you can take something that everybody's familiar with and just run away a different direction with it.
I wish I still had the stuff for it. It's been so long, and the form that I used it on is gone. Because you did change your form, like from one form to the next.
Oh, gotcha.
So all the databases like that was saved on is gone. And I switched computers since 2009.
Yeah, you can't save the same role plays on different servers, so I get that.
Yeah. So it kind of got erased when they did a server change and all that. Like, well, there goes that character completely.
Well, he still lives on in your head, and you could still bring him back as a legacy.
My psychotic mind.
Yeah. So, what else? Do you have any other side characters?
Not currently, really.
Okay. Well, then
because role playing is kind of hard to fit in the schedule anymore. So it's like I don't do it as often. But I was kind of thinking about try the angle thing because everybody else seems to want to do that now.
Yeah. And have you found an angle fed yet?
I've looked at a few of them. I just haven't picked one yet. I don't think.
Okay. Well, I'm sure you've heard about it, but it's DefianceWrestling.com. I got to show my guys.
I think you're setting me up for that one.
I kind of was a little bit there. But check out DefianceWrestling.com over at DefianceWrestling.com. Okay. Just trying to drill that in a little bit.
Big Foley thumbs up. I have to do the Big Foley cheap pop thumb.
If you could see my video right now.
I don't see a video, but I can picture that. The Big Foley thumbs up with the eye wink right here, Chicago.
So let's dive into the UWF run with Chris Spade. You mentioned how he's got his full career written by you from front to back as a legacy character. That's awesome. Talked about your biggest feuds over in the UWF and some of the achievements that Chris Spade had.
Well, Chris Spade has, I don't know, I lost freaking count how many titles he won over his career in that federation alone.
So he's has a very great legacy there.
He has the record for the most Intercontinental title belts.
Okay.
Which is at 5.
I'm joining UWF tomorrow. Get ready. I'm coming for your records.
He's a one-time UWF Universal Champion, which is one of their top title there. He held a tag title one time. There's a lot of onesies in there.
That's all right. One time still means it was checked off your checklist.
He's a 1.5 King of the Ring, they called it.
Okay.
Well, it's not. Well, the King of the Ring tournament, but it's King. I'm trying to think. I think it's like called King of the Universe or whatever it was, because all the Universal stuff. I say 1.5 because he won one solo and won a co. He ended up doing a storyline co-winner one.
Okay.
So with
but he's got a ton of
Black.
success in that tournament.
Yeah, well, 2 years in a row he did that. 1 year was a co-win, and then was a solo win.
Nice.
Then the UWF started taking on other smaller indie. I guess call it an indie company, but there were feds that were closing down. But the handlers still role played in his company, so he kind of adapted a lot of the titles. So I ended up taking called Pro Wrestling Uprising.
Okay.
Was the Efed that I still friend with the owner of that company still to this day. But I had been feuding with her top title for twice. I had held her that world title in that company through the UWF. The first one was like a 10-month reign, and the other one was like 2 months.
Hey, a reign's a reign. It doesn't matter the length.
Right.
So you achieved it twice, and this is in and UWF, I assume, is a roleplay fed.
Yes, it's roleplay.
Yep, absolutely.
But they're also the micro brand. They have a micro brand, and then they still have an angle, but the rule there was like you should have at least a role playing character first, because like everybody wanted to join it, so they had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. People wanted to be angle.
It'd be nice. I mean, it's nice to have anybody who wants to join your fed, let alone that many.
Oh yeah, they constantly get somebody to join. I don't know where they find them from.
Chris Spade had a ton of success over there, UWF. Yeah. And some of your biggest feuds were against who?
Well, obviously Ricky Stan was brought up already. And
yes.
So that's definitely the top one. One of the top ones, actually. The other one was Gary Hitman Reese.
Okay.
Because we had on and off rivalries throughout the years. He was actually the first rivalry I had in the company. When I first started, he was the first one I really had some kind of angle with. So he was there. Him and Ricky were both there about the same time. So
okay.
Just kind of give you kind of the time frame of that. Another one was just so many. Trying to think of names. One just returned, I think, to Efed. It was Elliot. I always get his last name wrong. I would say at least a dozen matches in a year against this guy at one point. Elliot Sinsco, I think it is, like Sisceo or something like that. Like it's a weird name.
Sure, and trust me, I do the question of the week every week, and I stumble over half of these Japanese characters' names, so I get it.
But yeah, I had a series of matches with him. Same with Andy Turismo, who was the record holder for the Intercontinental before I broke it. So, and he was actually in that match that broke that record on him. So he had a chance to stop it, but he wasn't able to. But he kind of vanished off the face of the planet.
Yeah, as people often do in e-wrestling. I get it.
Yeah. Trying to think of one of my favorite storylines, I could say, that was part of my feud was a stable versus stable feud.
And who were some of the members of your stable and the opposing?
It was kind of a good guy versus bad guy, original versus not so new blood, if you will.
Okay.
It was myself, Conrad Black. This was like the same year we became King of the Ring, I believe, too. That's kind of how it kind of happened. What was it? Trying to think of the names here. This was 2009.
No, I definitely get it. It's been a while, but so you got a long storied history with many opponents over there, and many title runs, which is awesome. What made you stick around one Fed for so long?
I guess it was a loyalty thing and how I was treated by the owner.
Nice.
Who was always, straight up with me, and anytime I needed time off, he'd give it to me. Anytime I need a week off here and there for a match, he'll give it to me. He was always open-minded to suggestions as far as storylines and things of that nature.
Do you want to give him a shout out here? Who is he?
Glenn Legend.
Okay.
I know that's a name that some people don't like, but that's their problem, not mine.
Yeah, you had a great experience working under him, so that's awesome.
And a lot of other people have too. Another cool fact about Chris Bey that he has been in a storyline relationship for a good 7 years now.
Wow.
So that's another thing that's probably even more rare in the Efed world with a separate character.
Absolutely. And separate handler, I assume.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Vicky Stone.
Nice. So what's next for Chris Spade?
Who the heck knows? I would guess that I'm going to contact any moment now. And I say that's because Glenn Legend always likes to contact me to be a part of. They have a WrestleMania-like event called Shockwave. And he always wants me a part of Shockwave. And that's in October.
Well, you got to have your legends show up to your big shows. I get it.
So I have a feeling he's going to be calling me any week now or any day now saying, hey, I have this idea for a match for the show. Can you do it? That's how he always does it. So I have the feeling that's going to be coming soon. So that's probably what's going to be next since it's mid-September now. So he always tries to give me a heads up because he knows that my crazy work schedules, I had to kind of think ahead of time to try to prepare something.
Sure, absolutely. And sometimes with life, that's how it gets. And so it's nice that you have someone that you can just, hey, I'm ready to do something. I'm coming back. And then, hey, I need some time off.
Oh, yeah. Exactly, and I have no problem. I don't care about wins and losses. If I win a match, cool. If I don't, I just put somebody over, and that's a regular there.
And that's why you're also have been around the same Fed for 12, 13 years, because you're humble, because you're win or lose, you're telling good stories. So.
Oh yeah, because I already got at this point in Chris Bay's actual career, it doesn't matter because he got his,
Yeah.
He got his big moments. He got his big wins. He got his titles. He's got his Hall of Fame rings. I was like, everything else after that's it's just extra.
Now he's just there to get paid.
Oh, I wish it was really getting paid, but
No doubt. So you and I got to meet up in St. Louis some many, well, I guess it was past February. Yeah, it wasn't even a year ago yet.
It seems like it was a long time ago, but
because,
it really wasn't.
Yeah, it was pre-COVID, which was amazing, when people still hung out together. So I was there for a work conference, and you live in that area. So we got to hang out, go to lunch together, and have a good time. So that was pretty cool. It was cool to meet you and add you to the many, many people I've gotten to meet over the years.
And you were the first in the Efed world I met.
That's awesome.
And still are.
That's good. I mean, it was a good experience, and obviously during COVID, it's been extremely restricted, so I haven't gotten to do much.
Right.
But yeah, it was cool that we got to grab a bite to eat and BS over lunch, and got to hang out with another E-Feder while I was in a strange area.
Yeah, it was fun. I definitely do it with other people or you again if you ever come through St. Louis again when COVID is done.
Absolutely, I'm looking forward to getting back there. I love St. Louis. It's a great city. It's a lot of fun. It's low key. I mean, when you think of fun cities, you don't think of St. Louis, but every time I've been, I've had a blast.
Yeah, it has a different reputation outside of if you live here.
Oh, I'm sure. And if you don't live there, check out the Social House, Soulard. Shout out to one of my favorite places over there.
Oh, it's a very popular place.
Yes, it is. Okay. Well, very good, buddy. Is there anything else you want to cover before we skip over to these questions from the crowd?
Not trying to think of stuff, but it might come to me later. It always does.
Sure, that's how these things go.
Yeah.
Let's see. On the Twitter machine, we got a question from That's Azzy Vebbins. She wants to know how often you play blackjack.
How often do I play blackjack? Well, probably at least 3-4 times a year because when the company goes through Las Vegas. At home with Vicky Stone, who knows? Maybe during one of our drunk escapades, who knows?
Nothing wrong with that.
So
not very often.
I'm not an extreme gambler that wastes all my money, no, but on gambling anyway. Wasting money for Chris Spade is something completely different.
Very good. Up next is at PRS_2pretty for you, Pretty Ricky Stanton.
Oh, here we go.
What do you think about working with Pretty Ricky Stanton? Question 1.
Well, we kind of already covered that, didn't we?
Yeah, I think we kind of did. But you had a great time working with him.
It's always been a pleasure working with him. I always had a great time. We told a hell of a story. But I always enjoy him. We pop up on my podcast over the past few years, and on his, I chat with him all the time. One of the greatest guys I've met in the Efed world.
He is a great guy. Yeah, longtime friend of this show as well.
Oh, yeah.
Well, okay. His second question: what are some of your favorite matches in your e-wrestling career?
There's a lot of them to pick from.
Yeah.
I would say.
What's your favorite Rikishi match? No, I'm kidding.
There is one.
Remember that time you faced Edge, though? Oh, man.
Oh, yeah. And when I sat on Ming's face, yeah, that's a great time.
Anyway, go ahead.
I would say one that stands out would have been it was a big team gimmick match. It was called Survival of the Sickest.
Oh, nice.
And it was kind of war game-ish.
Okay.
If that makes sense. But there was like pinfalls and submissions were allowed in it. But it's basically two teams beat the hell out of each other. My team was myself. Serena was probably one of the best female performers I've seen.
Okay.
She's a Hall of Famer herself. Had over a year-long hardcore title reign.
Wow.
Excuse me. Comrade Black was on that team. And Mr. Scott, Mr. Mean Street. That's his name.
Okay.
That's the guy I could not think of earlier. The big giant. And we faced, if I remember correctly, it was during the midst of that rivalry I was kind of talking about earlier against it was a heel authority figure group.
Interesting.
Yeah. And he got the heel authority group actually was a color commentator at the start of it. But he surrounded himself with all of these guys that believed in his hype. Guys and girls. And so there was, at the time, Chris Spade's first girlfriend in the UWF. She turned on Chris and joined the heel side. There was Mr. Meestrie's girlfriend also had a twin sister that was on the evil side. So they had an evil, good versus evil on that, on twins, which was kind of cool also. Their big guy was Sean Willie. Who was the father. He had a Sean hair. I remember him being a Sean hair pick base, but he had a problem with me personally for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, I do too, but I get over it sometimes.
He took things too seriously. What it really came down to, because he was a rapper.
Oh,
He wrote raps. So in our rivalry, Chris Spade at one time did a shitty ass song. And it was meant to be shit. It wasn't meant to be taken seriously. It was meant Chris Spade was being a jackass to him. That's basically what it was. But kind of like what The Rock would do is make fun of somebody. That's how he was doing, and he took it literally. Like, oh, you're my guy, you're so horrible, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you took that seriously? Really?
I tried to use your gimmick against you, yeah.
It was a comedy sketch. That's what Chris Spade does. He jokes with people. He insults people all the time. Like, even though he's a baby face, he does what The Rock does a lot of times. Like, he'll mess with the interviewer all the time. Like, he'll just...
Sure, we're children of the Attitude Era.
Right. So it's easy for him to do that when the interviewer is Kevin James, a fat guy. When he's a fat guy, of course Chris Bates will make fat jokes, right?
Sure.
That's what he does. So Sean Willie took that to literally like this guy just took it literally like, you're a terrible role player. You can't write a song. Like, he's not a songwriter. He wasn't supposed to be good at it.
I'm just messing around. Yeah. Fun stuff. You know, sometimes there's going to be people who take things seriously in what is a fun wrestling game.
And the one rivalry I had really wished that had a good ending to it, because it was getting so good heat, was he had one more name. The name, it was Dorn. That was his name, Dorn. But we had some amazing role play with each other, like hysterical stuff. Like, he always called me a rat face. So this was like, so I took that, and he was like, oh, he had the snake he was like the snake Dorn. So the funny part of when he did the rap face, like, oh my god, I have a brilliant idea. I'm going to do a role play similar to what Kane and Daniel Bryan did at that to get help with the Dr.
Therapy section. Yeah,
therapy session. And I'll have a kid come in there with a rat or something like that. And he goes on his tirade. He goes, I am not a rat face. I am handsome. and he loved it. He was like, oh my god, I peed my pants. That was so funny. Because like during the therapy session, he was like, one of the other funny things is that he was kind of like not a drug addict, but not a drug addict. So he was like, he was like in the scene, he was like sniffing those scented markers. I remember those in the day in grade school. So Chris Baser is just sniffing markers, scented markers, like, oh, this is cherry, you know. That's one thing he did in the role play. It was hysterical. And Dorn's like, I don't know how to counter this because it's so freaking funny how you wrote that.
And so eventually the blow-off did not meet your expectations.
Yeah, because he ended up having to leave the Federation before we can have the blow-off.
Oh, yeah, that's always unfortunate.
He had personal issues that forced him out of the e-fighting world.
Real life comes first. That's the golden rule.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I was really like, damn it, we could have had an awesome blow-off match, but we just never. It's always a tag match or something, a multi-person match, but we never had that clear one-on-one finish the whole thing.
Sure, and on the big stage even.
Yeah.
Well, good deal. Let's slide over to the Discord side of things. Up first, we got, and I'll warn you up ahead of time. Half of these are fun, and half of these are serious. Up first is Megan likes coupons. What do you think of the current state of e-fedding today?
Megan likes coupons, huh?
She does, yes.
I like that name. People say it's dying, and I don't believe that. I believe it became different from when we started.
Yes.
Because it's now more our generation, more adults doing it than the young teenagers are doing it.
Sure.
But there's still people who are still doing it in a massive amount of people. And there's still hundreds of feds out there. There's still hundreds of talents out there. The big change has been what kind of e-feds there are now. There are more different styles.
Yep.
Instead of just straight up role play, you get your angles, you get your micro, you get your word limits and all that other stuff.
You got match writing feds, you got call feds, you got all kinds of stuff.
It just became more creative.
Yeah.
It's style. And because of that, it's like you don't find more young teenagers. Like when we started, we were all young teenagers.
Yeah.
And it's like the same group just kind of kept it going, but changed what we did. So it's interesting. It's become how it evolved into more an adult oriented hobby than a younger hobby.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I mean, when I was starting out, I was 12 or 13, and I think a lot of people I played with were not much older.
You don't see e-feds out there anymore that I've seen. They're real life wrestlers involved.
Well, there's a couple out there that are quite a few members too. So you'd be surprised.
because I don't interact with them.
I'll be Scotty Too Hottie if you'll be Brian Christopher.
I don't do dead guys anymore.
Okay. At Billy, what's his name? Number one. Do you run a good written Efed with the wrestler application?
Do I run a good Efed?
Again,
don't run Efed, so
I warned you.
Guess not.
Okay, question two. Question two. If so, can I DM you?
Well, you can DM me, but you don't get no Fed out of me.
we have this cat who joined our Discord, and all he does is pop up and say, "Does anyone here run a written Efed with wrestler applications? If so, DM me." And then he just disappears. He never interacts. He never talks to anybody. He just says the same thing all the time. So now it's become a meme in our channel.
I can just point you to Efed. Here, join this one.
Yeah, there you go. Up next is the Matt Loaf. How much fish could Bobby Fish how much fish could Bobby Fish fry if Bobby Fish could fry fish?
Depends how much fish Bobby Fish has to fish to fry.
Oh, there you go. I like the twist on Bobby Fish. Okay. At Fuzz, what drew you towards Efedding? Was it the stories, the writing, or the ability to control your own character?
I think it became more the ability to control my own character was the top part, and then like writing trash talking.
Yes, getting to cut your own promos,
just writing it down. So.
Yeah. So when you look back, when you're done, what do you want to have accomplished?
I guess it would be more when I leave Efedding completely, that's be remembered of what I've done.
It's not a bad accomplishment. I mean, more so, I want to win 15 different Feds world titles. No. I want to make friends and have a good time and have people remember me and leave some kind of legacy.
Yeah, just be known that I existed in the Fed world. That's more like a bigger accomplishment to me that people actually know who I am.
No doubt. I mean, it's a crazy hobby with so many people in it, so I definitely get that.
Yeah.
What's been your biggest inspiration in Efedding? Has it been a writer, an actor, a genre, music, etc.?
As far as when I came up with the character?
Like when you write, what's been the biggest inspiration to you in your writing? Has it been seeing The Rock cut promos on TV? Has it been a certain, a music that you like, inspires you to write the way you write or whatever?
I would say it kind of depended on what year it was. Because when Chris first started, he was I would say a combination of Chris Jericho and Steve Corino from back in the ECW days.
Okay.
Because for a while when he first started, he was this arrogant asshole, but he was also this anti-hardcore guy, which Steve Corino was kind of known for that.
Yeah.
Being all old school, I don't need furniture, blah, 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 to win a match, So I kind of mixed the two together, and that's where it started, Chris. But then I mentioned the angle with Dorn, which was like, okay, Kane and Daniel Bryan did this.
Yeah.
So I threw my own twist on that.
So in that case, it was the wrestling you were watching.
Yeah, it's kind of what's happening in wrestling, and I kind of see something like, okay, how can I make that work for myself and be different?
And be better, yeah. I really like that. I want to put my twist on it. So
I took that whole Dr. Shelby thing, and I'm like, okay, I want to have Chris Bey be this real screwed up guy that's acting silly the whole time, and then gets pissed off at a rat, and then goes on this tirade about.
Well, good questions from Fuzz. His last one, on a lighter note, milk from a bag. That's for Neanderthals, right?
Milk from a bag.
Milk from a bag. Have you ever heard of that?
I unfortunately haven't.
I just learned about it this year, and it's from our good friend Rick. He's from Canada. Apparently, people in Canada drink milk from a bag and not a jug.
Huh. Did not know that.
No, crazy though.
Surprisingly, I did not know that, being that the Chris Bey's girlfriend, the handler from Canada. The handler is in Canada.
Well, ask them how they like their milk.
Ask her.
At the Matt Loaf, what's your biggest pet peeve in e-wrestling?
Honestly, people who go out of their way to just start shit and cross the whole in character out of character thing and start taking out of character shots at the handler.
Sure.
And just hold this huge grunge over something stupid. No matter what it is, like, I'm gonna hold a grudge against you because you did this to me a long time ago, but I still hate you now. And then do whatever you have to do to hate. Like, really, it's just a game. That's how I look at it. It's a game. Have fun. That's what we're here for.
Absolutely. At Cat Pasadena, what's one character or angle you have always wished you could run but never had a chance to?
Character to run or go
character
against?
Or angle. What's one thing you've always wanted to do in e-wrestling but haven't been able to pull off yet?
Successfully do a dark character.
There you go.
That's one thing. That's one of the things I always wanted to do. Like, because the idea I tried it before actually in the UWF, and it did okay, but it kind of got old really fast. And like, I just kind of ran out of creative ideas how to make it better.
Sure.
Just had basically a mental writing block on it, and I just couldn't get over it. But it was like a combination of the Undertaker and Bray Wyatt, like mix them together and become this guy that's sick and twisted. But it worked for a good 6 months. I had a really good writing on it, and it kind of fell flat.
Kind of hit the wall.
Yeah,
creatively.
Yeah.
Interesting. I've been there too, man. I've got a lot of characters that I started and I absolutely love and adore, and I want to explore them, but then I try to write them and I get so far and then I'm dead. Like
I had a really good storyline with it actually. He had a good stable with him and everything, because he had kind of called the Wyatt, like his Wyatt family, so to speak. But it was like, I think we had like, at one time 5 or 6 people in it. and there were all different handlers and stuff too.
Nice.
And the name was COM, but it stood for Cult of Monstrum, was like a Latin word for monster.
Okay.
So we got this really different name for a group, and it took off for a while, and it had cool storylines, like segments in the show for them. But then once that angle kind of ended, it's like, where do I go from here? Because I can't top that.
Sure.
I felt like.
At Rick, our Canadian buddy. Get ready. Here we go. Wait, when's this interview? Because I want to know if his mom's hot and if she's single.
Oh my God.
I don't know if you've heard on the past episodes, but Rick tends to ask these questions every single show.
You sound like a very lonely man, don't he? Poor Rick in Canada. Well, I'm not the one going to judge if my mom's hot or not, just to let you know.
Good. That's a very common answer.
Is she single? Depends on what one you're thinking about. My stepmom or my real mom? I got 2.
There's someone there for you, Rick. Just
keep trying, buddy.
Tread lightly.
And she needs my mom, so if you're going to try to beat my mom, well, you got a ways to go to travel.
No doubt. Also from Rick, do you prefer angle or RP feds, sim feds, hybrid feds, etc., and why?
Well, my whole career for Chris Space pretty much been 99% RP, so I'm going to go with RP.
Sure, it's what you're used to. It's how you found the game. It's been your entire career.
I know.
Yep.
The best anyway.
So, given the opportunity to pit any 2 real wrestlers at their peak against one another, who would it be, and what would the finish be?
Oh shit! Oh,
what's your dream match, Sean?
So many to pick from.
Yeah, we did this question in our Discord the other day. It was so much fun. So many different answers.
I'm stuck between 2 of them.
All right, hit us with both.
Sound say it, so I'm gonna hit it both. Both of them involve Kurt Angle.
Nice.
One is Kurt Angle versus Bret Hart.
Yes, that was a common one too.
And the other one is Kurt Angle versus Daniel Bryan.
Oh, I'd love to see that.
The finishes, I would say, I can't see neither one would tap out. So you gotta pick the Angle Slam for Bret. Daniel Bryan, I see him. He's more able to counter stuff, I think.
I could see him winning with a big knee.
Yeah, and just catch him on guard with that big knee, you know?
Yep. Nice. I like those. Those are good choices. What is your favorite gimmick match to read in Efedding? And favorite to write, if you do?
I always love reading the hardcore style matches.
Okay.
Actually, I'm trying to think the two people were in the match. One of my favorite ones happened at UWF was if the match took place in a park. And they wrote in the match using like the swings and seesaws and stuff. That was so much fun to watch.
That's fantasy wrestling. That's what this is about.
So using like all the things you find in a park during the match was really cool. And the other one was when somebody actually wrote out a supermarket fight.
Nice.
Kind of based off, obviously, the Austin Booker T thing, you know?
Yeah.
Put that in to make a whole match involving that being an actual match. Where
there's a referee there and everything, yeah.
Yeah. That was fun to read. I wish I could find that match now, but on the old server, so it disappeared.
Nice. Yeah, that's good stuff.
Unless Glenn has it somewhere on his hard drive somewhere.
Rick's next question, have you heard about Fuzz and how he's a dick, but Rick still thinks he's cool?
So you and Fuzz had a personal problem.
Yeah, they certainly do. Okay, have you heard about the Atomic Dropcast?
The Atomic Dropcast?
That's my other podcast. That's a question from Rick, so I appreciate the shout. Check it out at atomicdropcast.com.
Dirty plug, thumbs up.
He's setting it up. Well, he's got another one. Have you heard about e-wrestling tees?
Yes, I have.
Oh, that's also my little side business there. So check out e-wrestling tees over at efedtees or ewtees.com.
I thought about putting a t-shirt on there one day, but I was trying to figure out who would buy a Chris Spade t-shirt besides me.
Well, you never know. So hit us up on the side and we'll talk about it, buddy. Thanks, Rick, for the questions and the setups for some ads. Appreciate that, buddy. Up next, Seth is Burns. Question 1, is your dad hot and is he single?
No and no.
To the serious questions, any particular moments in Efedding that stand out as your favorites? I think we've kind of covered that throughout the interview.
There's plenty of those.
Yeah. So if you could handle another handler's character, who would you choose and why? That's a great question. If you could step into any character's shoes just for a minute, who would it be?
That's a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
My whole thing is if I can do it as nearly as good as they could.
Yeah. Well, no, what do you think would be the most fun to play, I guess, is the question.
I would say, and I will also throw this in there, this is a guy that I became really good friends with over Twitter, but never once worked in the same federation as him.
Okay.
And would like to one time, it's kind of still a bucket list thing, you can call it, to wrestle him in a match. That's Griffin.
Nice. Whammy bar.
Yeah. We talk about real wrestling all the time and all kind of fun stuff on Twitter. I'm sure you've seen it. But yeah, we have never wrestled in the same company at all or had a match against each other, but became really good friends just because. It was kind of awesome that way. But his character, though, his 80s rock star thing he's got going.
Yeah, his glam rock, hair rocker. I love I love the character too. I think
that has to be a fun one to play.
It looks like fun, and the handler seems super cool too. So shout out to at Whammy Bar on Twitter.
Yeah. So yeah, he'd be one. Ricky Stan probably be another fun one because he's got this whole. From what I can tell on his Twitter, he's got this whole stockholder thing going on with Angle Fed, I think. So being this evil authority figure type thing, I think he's got going on. I'm not sure. I'm not part of the federation to really know exactly what he's doing there, but
he's doing some good heel work.
Yeah, being an asshole heel like he is, and he pulls off so well, that can be fun.
It's great.
Be the asshole, you know.
So Seth's last question, and Fuzz has an addition to it, but Seth's last question is least favorite feud partner You don't have to name names unless they're not in the hobby, but please spill the tea. And then Fuzz says, I imagine Mikey's kicking his feet up, sipping some Earl Grey, dish girlfriend. You don't have to name names, but tell us about the worst feud partner you ever had or worst opponent you ever had.
There's two different ways I can go with this, really.
So hit us with both quickly.
Either because how bad of a writer that person was or how bad of the handler's attitude was.
Yeah, I think he's leaning more towards attitude on this one, I think.
Oh, I don't know if she's even around, but she had a fallout in the UWF as well as everywhere else she went to that I've seen her go to. I'm talking about she got fired from every company I've seen her a part of because of her attitude. And the thing is, we for a while we got along great, but then she kept causing all this drama.
Yeah,
and trying to put this divide between me and Glenn, actually try to sabotage our relationship by saying, "Oh, I said this and I've never said anything," but she's bringing up lies to try to get him pissed off at me. I'm like, I didn't say any of that shit. Like, he kept DMing everybody on Twitter and all this other crap and starting all these bullshit rumors and all this other stuff.
Yeah, it's tough to deal with.
But yeah, when she got fired from the UWF, we were in the middle of a feud.
So not only did she, spread rumors and say things that weren't true, but she left you high and dry.
Oh yeah. So that's always that don't sit well when we do stuff like that. It's like,
sure,
really.
Finish what you're doing, or I don't know, exit gracefully. If it wasn't her decision, I get it, but
or when you have a long feud going on and you have that last blow-off match and you say, you know what, I'm not going to roleplay for that match and zip out of town.
That's tough.
Like, really, especially after you wrote out your roleplay and you posted it, you spent all that time on it, and you felt like you put some really good work out there for pretty much be wasted. Never a fan of that.
No, that's a shame.
Yeah.
Well, very good. Sean, that's all questions we've got for you. Before we let you go, though, you want to give a shout out to anybody, plug Efed, give some links to contact you, put anything else out there you want to do. The time is yours.
Well, if you want to keep following my crazy long ass career, obviously my Twitter handler is capital letters UWF Chris Spade.
Yes, at UWF Chris Spade.
So there's that. I would put a UWF link, but it's all form. I don't feel like read out a form name.
Well, what's the UWF stand for, and people can search for it?
Universal Wrestling Federation.
Okay. Very good.
Which is actually universalwrestlingfed.jclinc.net.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Did find it. Which it should be directly to a forum. So.
Good deal.
And they've been around for a long time, so they must be doing something right to stay relevant for so many years.
And they are a role-play fed, so if you're looking for a good role-play fed, check out the UWF.
They also have a micro fed, which is like, depending on what tire you're going for, the word limits, but they're like 1,000 to as low as 500, I think.
Nice.
And they have angle, I think, but you think you have to have an active
role-playing character.
Yeah. So, at least I think it's still active, that part, but yeah, it's there. I just looked it up.
Good deal. Anybody else you want to shout out to?
Well, I am working on some other projects outside of Efeding, I think, but
nice.
I'll be posting that kind of information up soon. One of the reasons why I got a brand new mic is starting up Twitch and all that stuff, so I need to get quality stuff, equipment. So there'll be more than that popping up on my my Twitter when I get the details down. There may be a podcast of my own in there somewhere.
So check out at UWF Chris Spade and hit the follow button and he'll be dropping information as it becomes available.
Yep. There's
Awesome.
a Mixer account I got, which is mixer.com/the Pod Crazy Network, which is where I'm going to post a lot of my podcasts on there when I do get that going again. It's going to be a variety of different shows of different topics. It could be real pro wrestling. It could be e-fetting. It could be sports. Wherever I feel like talking about that day, it's probably will be the show to be about. But
It depends on what's in the news. It's like you're writing.
Yep, exactly.
I like it. So keep your eyes peeled to UWF Chris Spade on the Twitter machine.
Yep. It's always active, and never a day goes by I don't post something weird on there.
Yeah, you're a big AEW fan too. Let's mention that.
Oh yeah,
You're watching Dynamite basically on a weekly basis and tweeting about it live. So that's a lot of fun. I'm not a big follower of AEW, not a disliker or a liker. I just don't watch much current product. But it's nice that I can just, as I have you on my timeline, I can see some stuff that's going on.
yeah, me, Griff, Bobby Jackson Johnson. We go on our Twitter and talk about AEW every week. We watch the pay-per-view and we kind of put comments out there about it. And really, it's been a company that I prefer over everybody else, that I can still watch and enjoy wrestling again and maybe kind of love it again.
That's a great thing.
And I think a lot of it has to do with we had other fans of the actual company that we could all interact and talk about it. So that's, it's been great because I actually ordered their pay-per-views, which is something I haven't done in years.
Yeah.
Like, I know the WWE Network, I have the WWE Network, and I could watch their pay-per-views, and I've done that, but it's like, I always thought to myself, okay, if the WWE didn't have a network and they were back to the normal pay-per-view way, would I ever sit there and buy it? I always ask myself that. I'm like, probably not most of them.
I like a lot of what they have going on. I mean, I drove all the way to Chicago to see All Out and see Chris Jericho crowned first world champion. So it was a cool experience, and I dig it. I'm glad there's competition again. I hope it pushes both companies to be better, and I think it already has. And I'm excited to see what comes next. And also, I was glad to see Rusev pop up.
Oh yeah, Rusev's down there, and speaking of AEW, I was supposed to go to the St. Louis show in April,
and COVID kicked in.
Yep.
Yeah, I got SmackDown tickets that have been postponed 3 times already.
And they postponed it once for October, and they're still saying it's going to happen in October, but I have my doubts.
Well, they have limited seating, but I'm sure many, many people bought tickets.
But they're not traveling anywhere. They're still in Florida.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
It's supposed to be the reset a date for St. Louis. I'm like, there's no way it's going to happen in St. Louis.
Right. Not anytime soon.
Because St. Louis still has their whole quarantine thing where they're not allowing concerts or anything going on. So it's...
Well, good deal, man. I appreciate very much you coming on the show, talking to us today. We got the opportunity to hang out and meet. That was awesome. And you've been on the wait list here for the podcast for some time. So I really appreciate the patience. Appreciate your patience with the technical issues we had earlier today. But we got it. We got the interview done, and it was a good time.
Yes, it was. And hopefully everybody else listening enjoys it. My ramblings.
It's always cool to hear about everybody's, their own personal journey and how it varies and how similar it is to our own. Like I said, I found e-wrestling through Yahoo chat rooms too, and it's awesome to hear somebody else has it as well.
Yeah, here I am at 37, and Chris Spade is probably almost realistically 37 as a character.
Worked out well. Well, Sean, thank you very much for coming on the show. Appreciate it, buddy.
Thank you. Have a good night.
I had a lot of fun interviewing Sean. I hope you guys enjoyed listening. It was nice getting to meet him this past February before all this COVID stuff started, and I'm looking forward to getting back out on the road and meeting other handlers eventually as well. In the meantime, guys, thank you very much for listening to this week's podcast. I appreciate all of our sponsors, all of our patrons over at patreon.com/Efed podcast. If you'd like to get involved, go go on over there and help support the show. We would greatly appreciate it, and you get some cool benefits in the process. Guys, thanks for tuning in to the Efed podcast. And for Brian, I'm Mikey, where the wrestling is written, but the characters are real.
On Patreon.